Good afternoon and welcome again to our continuing series of In-Depth School and Community. These are a series of special editions we're running during this remote learning experiment that we're all been forced into as all of our schools have been shut down. Today we're going to focus in on tech integrators. Now, as you know, in the last show we did touch upon what a tech integrator does, but I'm fortunate with us today to have three brilliant tech integrators who work for our school systems to come forward and talk to us about that. So I want to introduce and welcome our guests.
Hi, I'm Justin Bork. I'm the tech integrator at Concord High School.
Thank you, Justin.
I'm Dana Folds. I'm the tech integrator at Broken Ground School.
Terrific. Thank you, Dana.
I'm Deb Fitzenmayer. I'm the tech integrator at Rundlet Middle School.
Thank you, Dana. I'm sorry,
Deb.
So what we have are three areas covered: elementary, middle, and high school. So obviously we're using tech integrators from kindergarten level all the way up to grade 12. Now let's turn our attention to the remote learning experiment that we're in now. Now, how has that changed your modus operandi? We'll start with you, Dana.
Well, it's definitely still busy, but in a different way. Teachers are really looking for ideas on what tools to use and how to use them. And at the elementary school, I think we're really focused on communicating with students and making sure they know that we're still connected even though we're learning remotely. And we also are trying to keep things really simple so that we're not causing more stress, but we're still continuing to learn.
Are you finding that a lot of teachers or parents and or students are coming to you and saying, I can't get this to work, or what about this, or what about that?
Yes. We've been insanely busy the last week, but we do have things in place to help with that. We have a help desk that parents can email directly if they're having...
Time out. That's an important point to say. So say it once again, very nice and clearly to the folks out there.
Sure. We have a help desk, so any hardware kind of problems people are having, they can contact our help desk either by phone or they can email help@sau8.org. And they can put a ticket in and they'll get a response back to help them with whatever problem they're having. But if they're having problems with applications they're using or lessons or passwords signing in, stuff like that, they can email the teacher directly and the teacher can help them, or if they need to, they can forward that to us and then we can help the family.
So back to the help desk, you mentioned you gave an email address they can contact to reach there, but you also said a phone. What's the phone number they can use?
I believe Josh can. They can flash that on the screen.
That'd be great.
I believe it's 230-7860. Is that correct?
Okay.
Wow.
Josh will make sure that's on the screen.
Oh, it's already on the
Thank you
screen.
for that data. That's I mean, that's going to be so important in all seriousness. If I'm a parent, and remember, most parents aren't educators, right? So they're having a real lot of difficulty working with their child on how to do this stuff. So they're going to be getting frustrated pretty quickly. It's great to be able to pick up the phone and call the help desk and say, hey, can you help me out here? I can't get the machine to work, or the Zoom's not going in, or whatever the case may be. So I think that's hugely important.
I think at our levels, at the middle school and probably the high school as well, the students are pretty confident as well as maintaining their own equipment and trying to troubleshoot. So I think that we can count on the kids. I do have the concern about some of the hardware issues because the kids are used to having sort of immediate service within the building and they don't have that. So that help desk will be super important. As far as families having concerns, like Dana just said, with passwords or this application isn't working, definitely email the teacher and then that'll filter down through us if the teacher can't answer the question.
That's great. How about the high school?
I mean, it's similar to the middle school. I think unless it's a device problem, which was that number that flashed on the screen there, they should first contact their teacher and just know that because the students at the high school have always had, well, for 3 or 4 years now, not always, but for 3 or 4 years, they've had devices going home. And they've used things like Google Classroom, an online learning portal. But they've never used it to this degree. This level, obviously. This is new. So I think it's important. I would really want parents to feel comfortable having their son or daughter, their student, or themselves reach out to that teacher first and know that when they're reaching out to those teachers that we're standing or sitting on computers at home waiting to also be there for support as well. So,
So your advice is that for the student or the parent, contact the classroom teacher first. Now that's just a direct issue with the actual machine, but contact the teacher first and the teacher will provide the kinds of clarification and instructions and support that's needed. If there's further need, if you will, then they would contact you. Is that correct?
The teacher will.
The teacher would, yeah.
Yeah.
The teacher would contact you
Yep.
and say, look, let me talk to Justin and I'll get back to you. Or Justin will call you directly because that's an issue that he's better served at discussing with you.
Yeah. Because again, like we were saying, a lot of the teachers are they know a lot of these tools.
Sure.
And they're comfortable with them. And but there's going to be things that come up that were a surprise to all of us. There's no way that can't happen at this point, given the volume of online learning that's happening. So in those cases, we're there to support the teachers if they need it. Yeah.
Yes.
Dana, are you guys more stressed out now because of this remote learning experiment, or is this just typical for you?
We try really hard not to be stressed out, but I mean, it's been a really different kind of week that we're working in a different way. We're helping teachers in a different way. It's a lot easier if I could go into somebody's classroom and show them a tool versus now trying to do it remotely. It's just, I mean, it's working, but it's a shift for sure.
Do you feel that if this thing were to go till, let's say, mid-April or maybe even May 1st, is that going to be a problem for you?
No, because I think that the teachers in this district are really innovative, and I just really think that they'll be able to figure out what's the best way to keep kids learning without causing stress.
And I think, too, the teachers have done a wonderful job. They have really stepped right up, and some of them out of their comfort, as you mentioned.
Sure, yeah.
And they are seeking out extra information and looking for new ideas of how to deliver their instruction to their students. So they've done a really, really great job. And I think this district, we were in a good place and felt pretty prepared.
As much as we
as
could
much
be.
as we could be.
And still the teachers were trying their hardest to get as
doing
ready
an
as
excellent
fast as
job.
they
And
could. Yeah.
I know at the middle school, virtually all of our teachers use Google Classroom anyway. So for them to have this as an instructional platform right now is actually going to work pretty well, without having that face-to-face contact.
Yeah.
But I feel really in a good place for the middle school.
Yeah, Justin, Deb brings up a really important point, and one of the students I had on the show last week brought it up too. It's like you're in this sort of new arena, and so the creativity, the innovation is now it's boundless, and so you can actually look at the assignments, the materials, the issues you're trying to grapple with in a different way. And so creativity and innovation come to the fore, and students and teachers alike are able to look at the lessons they're trying to get at from a different perspective. It's not the typical day in, day out kind of situation. We're giving a lesson on Monday, there'll be a test on Friday. Now it's kind of wide open. So you're standing on top of the mountaintop and you're looking out over the horizon and you're seeing all these various things in front of you and saying, how can I reposition those things in a way that are going to bring better learning, better understanding to me? And so you're seeing it from the teacher's point of view, but you're also seeing it from the student's point of view. Because they now are, in a sense, wide open in terms of how they approach.
Well, and we are also, you asked about stress.
Yeah.
For the job-related part, it is increased, but we feel like we are working with great people. It's, I'm a parent as well, and there's that. So you said you're seeing it from the teacher view, you're seeing it from the student view, and I'm seeing it from the parent view.
That's funny.
And Deb, I know you guys can both agree. And so on one level, I think that's just an added element that we are all constantly aware of and thinking about. We can't not be aware of it.
Yeah.
So we're constantly thinking about, okay, how do we do this? How do we be creative? How do we have that sort of explore that environment in a manageable way, given that there are added elements that are sort of unprecedented for a lot of people or just totally new.
Let's talk about the parent point of view just for a minute, if we could. So you're all parents, right? You all have students in the school system?
Yes.
I do.
In Concord?
Yep.
Wow, neat.
So I have one in high school and I have two at the middle school. If I
All right,
could
we'll
just
start with you. Go ahead.
Okay, jump in for a second.
That's more than
What I would say to parents is, I know some of the kids are being inundated with their mailboxes filling up with all these Google Classroom assignments. And I think the teachers tried to get ahead a little bit and try to blast a whole bunch of assignments out there. And for the students and their parents not to be scared by this suddenly full inbox with all these assignments. I think that they're intended to be staggered out for just a couple each week. So they're not, if you got 60 notifications today, they're not all due today.
Right.
To look closely and go through those one at a time. And the same with the middle school. I think our middle school teachers were also trying to send a lot of assignments out to kids.
Yes.
Yeah.
And not for parents to not feel like that has to get done today.
Excellent point. Dana?
I have a third grade daughter, and I think, like kind of what Justin was saying, things are kind of in place already. They're using Lexia and Zern, and so they're just doing it at home now.
So you're comfortable as a parent dealing with all this?
Working from home has been a whole new animal. I think we can all agree to that. But I mean, that part of it hasn't been very stressful for me, but I think the challenge parents are facing, especially with little kids, is trying to entertain a little kid and do your job. Or if you're not working right now, it's really stressful. So
well, I mean,
it's that balance. It's tough.
I mean, don't you think it too is like internalized for me, the need, like the tip I would give anyone now after experiencing myself and didn't know before is I never had an office at home.
Right.
Not a designated office. I don't have space for that. I work off laptops or my phone. I need a designated space. And I think it would be helpful for anyone if I don't have older students in the district. My son is younger. He's at the elementary level, but it's probably a good practice to try your best if you
have
when you can to have like a separate workspace or some quiet space where you can sort of get that done.
Something else to think about, and we talked about this earlier, is in my household, my husband's a teacher as well, so there are 5 of us all trying to work on our wireless at the same time. We have 2 people instructing and 3 students on Chromebooks, so we have to be aware of what else is running in the background, so to speak.
That's a lot of internet use,
Right, so we can't be, we don't want people streaming Netflix or Hulu or playing Xbox while everybody else is trying to get their work done in our home. So I just think that's an awareness that families need to have as well.
Wow. Yeah, and I think at the high school, the middle, maybe all grades, you can tell me if you agree, Dana, but like there is a dynamic that hasn't changed, even though it feels like it has, which is if my son has work, and I need to know, or I want to be involved in that.
Right.
The way when I grew up, my mother would ask me to show me the work. Take out the work out of your bag and show me what you're working on. And that really hasn't changed. Just it's not a physical bag anymore. It's Google Classroom.
Yeah.
But the best way for families to still be involved together and to help one another is to see that student's Google Classroom.
Show me what you're doing in classroom.
Yeah.
Great point.
Yes.
At the elementary school, we sent home learning plans.
Right.
So everybody's using the same format. So that's what parents would look for.
Yeah. So Justin, I mean, we had in our last show a little bit of a conversation about tech integrators and what they do, but since you're here, maybe you can give us a more detailed explanation. What does a tech integrator do and why are they so important to this?
Right. Well, I'm smiling because we wear a lot of hats because these days there's a ton of technology in buildings in public schools. So all the tech integrators at any level are certified teachers first.
Teachers first.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I'll talk about that just for a second. So you understand what it's like to be a classroom teacher.
Yes.
And so therefore, when you bring the technology into the classroom, you have an idea of how this might best fit with what the teacher's trying to do.
Right. That's absolutely the idea, is that you sort of walk that line between pedagogy and teaching and how to run a classroom exactly. And then also, essentially, I think of it as being a technology coach almost for your fellow staff members, your colleagues, and everybody comes from different places and has different experience with technology, but it's whether you're good with it or not as a classroom teacher, it's an added element that always requires extra attention to make sure that the technology adds value to the classroom rather than becoming a distraction or something that doesn't add or take away at all. So that takes extra effort, and usually it is awesome when a school district can have 2 people working together on that.
Yeah, Dana, that's really interesting because, I mean, it's very easy to say, oh, I got all this technology and I want to have all the bells and whistles go off in my classroom. But as Justin said, if it's a distraction, it actually takes away from the class. So how do you deal with issues like that?
Well, we just work really closely with the teacher. All of us have been classroom teachers, so we really understand what they are dealing with and going through. And it's really up to us to keep things simple so that kids are really focused on whatever the learning goal is and not the tech tool. So we really try to focus the lesson on goals instead of just
Sure.
fancy tools.
So what you're saying is there are some teachers that obviously take advantage of what you have to offer and use a lot of technology in the classroom. Then there's others like me who don't want to do that and feel very comfortable kind of running the program as we always have. Would you try to convince me to use the technology more?
Yeah, and I think a lot of us focus on building relationships with our teachers in our buildings, so that they hopefully trust us and know that we can give them confidence to handle any tech tools that come their way, and if they have trouble, we're there right away to help them. And I think we've really created a culture in the Concord School District of like trust us and work with us, and it really adds a lot to the lessons that you can offer your students.
Do you find that at the elementary level it's like very different in terms of how to use technology as opposed to what Justin might find at the high school?
Well, before coming to Concord, I was
Yes.
teaching high school social studies.
No kidding.
So I mean, it is different,
Yeah.
but a lot of what I was doing as a social studies teacher, I can also do as an elementary tech integrator, and we work a lot with the teachers to just enhance lessons, and I think that's what you do at the high school level too.
Yeah, I think too, like especially right now, it's really nice when you talk about, do you try to convince? We are all fortunate enough to be in a district where most of the teachers I work with have sometimes 2.5 times the experience. I have 8 or 9 years experience, and some of these teachers that I work with have twice that or more. So there's always many things more that they know that I do not. Whether even if they are asking me about technology, which is just a small part of what we're trying to do, so it makes it for a nice collaborative. It's easy for me to approach in a humble way because I know how much some of these, master teachers in many cases, just can teach me too. So
I think too that we take some of their existing lessons and try to enhance or elevate that instruction by infusing some of that technology. And I know that we've had tech around here in this district for a number of years, and our teachers see the value in that. And that's part of our job is to demonstrate that value and show how the technology helps us to reach more and more kids and to help kids produce better and better work.
Yeah, but Deb, it also sounds like what Justin is saying, it's all about relationships, and it's your ability to connect up with the classroom teacher.
Right. And that's super important. I think all of us work across our whole buildings and try to work with the specialists and work with the classroom teachers to give them better and better tools or more tools to work with their students.
So would you feel just as much at ease with a math class or an English class?
I do, yes. I think math gets a little tricky sometimes, but once you can demonstrate to the math teachers what they can do to help their kids to engage at a different level, that they see the importance and the value of technology.
So if I'm a math teacher, you might suggest certain programs I might be able to use, certain software packages, if you will.
And I think a great way is for kids to demonstrate their work in a different way rather than giving an end of the unit assessment, like a paper and pencil assessment, that kids can create videos that demonstrate their learning and show their learning and show the process of learning, and that becomes really important. And the teachers and the students see value in that.
Nice. Now, Justin, here's the problem, though. So technology is changing at astronomical levels, right? I mean, every 2 or 3 years, it's like, holy cow, it's a whole new level of technology. How do you keep up with it?
I personally just kind of love it. So it's not it's not a task, I guess, for me to do. It's something that I would do anyway.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that's what draws some people to this particular job, this kind of digital learning specialist, this tech integrator. There's different names for it, but so I do keep up with it, and I think we all do, just because we're excited to see what it can do for learning. So we're always trying to kind of keep ahead of that curve. It is hard. I mean, it does come out all the time, and you have to assess what has value and what doesn't. There are many things that don't, that we discard, and many things that surprise us and have a ton of value. So.
Yeah, but Dana, isn't the problem, though, that you got to train? So again, I'm a classroom teacher, and you got all this new technology. You got to, in a sense, retrain me on how to use it or to provide ways in which I can use it.
Yeah, and I think that if we really focus on what the learning goal is, then we're able to focus what tools we're using and which ones are just kind of,
That's an excellent point. So in other words, it's not about bells and whistles. It's not about what's the latest thing that's out there. It's about what is your particular learning goal that you're trying to get across to these kids that you have. And then you kind of back out from that and say, if that's the goal, and this is where you want to be, here are some possibilities you might want to take advantage of in terms of enhancing your program, your curriculum, so that we can do more things with a curriculum than perhaps you could do on its own.
right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. Deb, do you find that you're in need a lot? I mean, do people call you up all the time and say, Deb, can you come down and help me out?
I do feel like as soon as I walk through the door, excuse me, it's email, it's text messaging, it's face-to-face, it's students who need a lot of assistance throughout the day as well, whether it's a hardware issue with their Chromebook or whether they just need some suggestions on how to do something differently and how to do something better. I love getting into the classrooms. I love co-teaching, like Justin had said, so you can work together with the teacher and you have that relationship. It's really just a wonderful way to come together for the kids to see and be part of that really productive classroom environment.
Yeah, I don't think our audience is aware of that. So what you're saying is, so Dana comes into my classroom, she gives me these ideas on how I can enhance my class on Huckleberry Finn, let's just say, for argument's sake, right? Now I'm expecting her to say, here you go, and then out the door she goes. What you're saying to me is she's going to work with me.
With you.
She's going to, in a sense, team teach the class.
And there's a lot of planning that goes into that so that we can access everybody's strengths and everything that we have to offer within the classrooms, and then we come in and co-teach together. And I think it really comes together as a really dynamic lesson.
And again, that brings up the experience with the teachers we work with, because there's you can imagine there might be a level of nervousness about learning a new tool in front of the students, but not so with the people we work with. I mean, like the teachers I work with are always excited to say, hey kids, you're going to see me learn something too here. And I end up learning from them. So like the kids see this kind of collaborative atmosphere where we're not only just instructors, we're also learning ourselves, which can be really good.
That's outstanding. So you're saying the kids feel just as comfortable with you in the class as the teacher does, for the most part.
Because teachers with the teachers I work with, they have so much experience and knowledge that they know that if they show the students that they're also willing to try and fail and try and learn, that the students will maybe pick up on that subconsciously or actively just say, oh, okay, that's how you approach technology.
Wow, nice. I appreciate you all coming in. I'm sure our audience will value this very much in terms of how they're going to deal with their child's education during these this imposed lockdown, if you will. So thank you all. I really appreciate this, and we look forward to working with you over the next several weeks.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank
Thank you.